Hello, my name is Michael Gonda, Technical Engagement Manager and Senior Solutions Architect with Expedient. In this video, we're going to talk about the Expedient Enterprise Cloud, provide a demonstration of the product, and just make sure you're comfortable with accessing the solution and getting support. Expedient is a full-stack cloud service provider. We offer solutions for security, cloud-native hosting, multi-cloud management options, even disaster recovery as a service solutions. At the core of Expedient's offerings is the Expedient Enterprise Cloud Platform, which we use to host clients, servers, and virtual desktops. To access your Expedient resources, you need to log into your Expedient One Login portal. The URL for this portal was provided during your onboarding process and delivery, but if you've lost that URL, you can log into Expedient Support Management Console, click on the Resources tab, and click on the One Login portal link, which will take you to the home page where you can log in with your Active Directory username and password associated with your account. Once you gain access to the One Login portal, you will see all of your subscribed services at Expedient. And these are portals into management functions for all of your Expedient resources. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the Enterprise Cloud Platform. So you would click on the Enterprise Cloud icon over here, and that will take you to the Enterprise Cloud Platform portal directly. Once you gain access into the Expedient Enterprise Cloud Platform, you should land on this main page. Now, this is my demo environment for Expedient. In my demo environment, I have two different locations. I have resources in Cleveland 152, and I have resources at Expedient Baltimore Owings Mills. So I have two different locations where I have resources. If you're not using disaster recovery services with Expedient, you may only see one tile here, or some clients actually have multiple tiles here if they're running resources in 3 or more Expedient data centers. But for most clients, you're going to see 1 or 2 tiles here that represent your services for individual data centers that you're hosting your servers in. And the first thing to point out is that your allocated numbers down here at the bottom, these are the numbers that are actually showing up on your Expedient invoice. So these are the numbers that your company is actively subscribed to with Expedient. The speedometer gauges are reflecting what's actually being consumed of the resources that you're subscribed to. Now, in my case, we actually have a whole bunch of extra space available here. We would normally not recommend this for most clients because that additional space is obviously going to be costing you additional money as well. So we would normally recommend that you run these speedometer gauges up a little bit higher than you're seeing here. But generally speaking, any free space that you have available means that there's space for you to build into that environment, and there's more resources available for your use. Also note that the consumption of these resources for CPU, memory, and storage is based upon your provision size of your virtual servers. So if you have a server that is provisioned to have a 2 terabyte hard drive, but it only has 100 gigs worth of used storage on it, because it's provisioned for 2 terabytes, that means it's going to consume 2 terabytes of your total allocated resources. So just remember, as you're provisioning CPU, memory, and storage resources, your consumption is going to be based upon whatever you provision those machine sizes to be. Also note that you can see the running VMs and your number of VApps that are available on each environment. Obviously, in our Cleveland 152 facility, I have 33 machines running, but I have 37 in inventory. In Owings Mills, I have 5 machines in inventory, but only 4 of those machines are currently running. And then across the top, again, if you have resources in multiple facilities, you can see your total aggregate utilization for all of your machines across your entire Expedient footprint. Also note that these numbers are a little bit rounded up. They're not exactly perfect. There's a better place inside the platform we'll talk about later, which will actually show you where you can see your exact usage. But this is a very good gauge for you to tell where your resources are actually being consumed on the platform. One last point on this page that's very important to remember. If you are subscribed to Expedient's Disaster Recovery as a Service solutions, on the DR site, in my case for the demo environment, that would be the Owings Mills data center, In the DR site, you will not consume any of your allocated resources until you fail over servers into that side. Now, you may have a couple of machines running like we do here in my demo environment. This would be for a domain controller or maybe test servers that you want to run in your DR environment. The CPU, memory, and storage resources will not show up as consumed until you fail over servers from the production site into the DR site. So you always want to make sure that you keep enough resources available on the DR side of the platform to be able to support the failover of the production servers into the DR site. From this main page, if you have multiple tiles here for different Expedient data centers, or if all of your servers are hosted in one Expedient data center, either way, you can click on the tile that represents that data center. Once you're in this view, you can see a graphical representation of all the servers that are currently running in that data center. And you can search servers by name or by description, or you can do advanced filtering and search for machines by powered on state, by snapshot, by IP address, even creation date if you wish. Also, remember that you can view these machines in two separate ways. You can either view them in a more of a graphic view like this, or if you want to, you can click on this collapse view over here, and this will give you the ability to see the machines in more of a line by line view. If you have a lot of machines to scroll through, this might actually be a little bit easier for you. If we look under the graphic view, you can see the number of CPUs assigned to a machine, the amount of storage assigned to a machine, the amount of memory that's assigned to a machine, and you can choose to take actions on that machine just like you would in any VMware environment. So you can power off the machine, you can shut the machine down, you can suspend the machine. You can also take snapshots from here, create snapshots or revert to snapshots. It is highly recommended that you don't keep a snapshot. If you create a snapshot, don't keep it on the platform for longer than 24 to 48 hours is usually the best recommendation. If you're taking a snapshot with the idea that you're going to install a software upgrade on a virtual machine or you want to apply a patch, uh, after you're done doing your work, if the upgrade or the patch goes okay, make sure you come back in here and remove the snapshot. Or if you need to revert because the patch doesn't work out well, you can revert to that snapshot right away. But it's always a strong best practice to make sure that you remove those snapshots within 24 to 48 hours. And that's best for your machine performance itself. So you can keep the snapshots if you want, but it's highly recommended that you don't because it will hurt your performance on your virtual machines. Also from this same Actions tab, you can choose to install your VM tools from here, and you can choose to edit badges associated to your machines if you wish, which will give you an easy way to sort your machines if you want. You can create badges based on color, and you can assign colors to maybe all blue servers, might be your web servers or what have you. You also have the ability to go into your Details tab here on individual virtual machines and edit many different features of the actual virtual machine itself. So you can go in to the virtual machine and change the name of the machine inside of VMware. This is obviously not going to change the guest operating system name, but it will change the name of the machine in the virtual view inside of Expedient's Enterprise Cloud Platform. You can choose to have boot delays on the machine. The next time you go into the machine, you can edit the BIOS setup, all of the usual configurations that you would expect to see inside of a VMware platform. You can also go into the hardware tabs and choose to change configuration settings for disk space. So from here, you can go and change the amount of disk space assigned to this machine from 60 gigs to 600 gigs. Provided you have the space available, you can make that happen. Just remember, like we talked about earlier, the size of this machine, whatever it's configured for on this tab, is going to be the amount of resources you're going to consume from your Expedient pool of resources that you're getting. The same is true on the compute section. So you can go into your CPU and you can edit the CPU configuration to change the number of vCPUs assigned to your machine, the number of cores that it's using, even change the virtual CPU hot add if you wanted. But again, remember that whatever this is configured for, that is what you're going to consume out of your pool of resources that you're getting from Expedient. You can also come in and change your memory configuration. So you can change this memory configuration from 4 to 8 to 128 if you want. Again, as long as you have the resources available in your pool, and as long as you recognize that whatever you configure this for, no matter what the machine uses, that configuration setting is what you're going to be consuming off of the platform itself. From the same tab, you can go in and power off the machine from here, or you can launch a web console for this machine, and this will allow you to directly get into the machine itself through a web browser. So this is probably not the best place to do all of your everyday management functions, but if you ever need to get into a machine in an emergency, you can actually log into this web page, into the EEC console, and get into your Windows servers over an HTML access. Additionally, from here, you can choose to monitor tasks or events associated to that individual virtual machine. You can export tasks and export events, and you can choose with events which time frame you'd like to look at. So you can look over the last 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, or all events associated with that machine. Let's head back to the main page and walk through the steps it takes to build a new virtual machine. Click on the New VM button here. We'll open up a dialog box to give us the standard things you're familiar with from VMware. You would choose a name for the machine. You could choose a description if you wanted, and then you can choose to build a new machine or a machine from a template. Templates are available. You can create your own, or we have a couple of custom templates already pre-built. Or you can choose to build a brand new machine by selecting the operating system family, and then you can choose what operating system you would like to use from there. Note, if you're building a Windows machine, you will consume a Windows license on the platform. Expedient will poll the platform periodically to see the number of Windows servers that are built inside of your environment. And if you go over the amount that's on your invoice, you will receive an update to your invoice that will include that additional license. You will not be blocked from using Windows licenses on the platform. You will just end up getting a charge for adding a new Windows server on the environment if you don't already have server licenses available on your Expedient invoice today. The best practice is if you're building a machine and you only plan on running it for a couple of days out of a month, you can build a Windows server and then run it and then shut it down and then are reporting to Microsoft. You will only end up with a couple of days of billing on that machine. It's a burstable SKU. But if you determine that you want to run that SKU or that server for a much longer period of time, a month or indefinitely, you should reach out to your Expedient account representative and ask them to include one more Windows license onto your contract. That way that you're paying the least amount for that Windows license, and that license will always be available and assigned to your account from there going forward. So from here, after you choose Microsoft Windows, you can choose which operating system you would like to run, and then you can select from boot images that we make available on the platform, or you can upload your own boot images if you wish. From here, you would want to choose the resources that you're assigning to that machine. So the number of virtual processors that you would have on the machine, the number of cores per socket, the amount of memory that you would have assigned to that machine, and the amount of disk space that you would want to assign to the machine as well. You can choose default numbers from here, 90, 180, 360, what have you, or you can actually choose very specific numbers by hitting the up arrow. You can change that 90 to 93 if you wanted to. Again, remember all these numbers, whatever numbers you choose here, provisioned amount is what is going to be taken out of your pool of resources on the Expedient side. So the best recommendation is to have probably 10% overage available inside of each individual virtual machine, but don't put a bunch of additional space inside the individual machine because you'll be eating up your available resources on the Expedient platform. And then you would also want to choose networking. Now, this will be partially pre-built for you during our delivery process with Expedient, but you can choose which network you want to put the machine into, and then you can choose adapter type and the network mode if you wish, determine what your IP addresses are, and to determine how you're going to route that machine out to the public internet or if it's non-routed and it's going to stay in a private network on its own. Once you click OK, the machine will be built, and VMware is going to start using the ISO image to build out the operating system for that virtual machine. And then you'll find that virtual machine on the main page along with the rest of your virtual machines. Next, let's talk quickly about vApps. You can think of vApps as a collection of virtual machines that all work together. You may want to put all of your web servers into a vApp, or you may want to put all of your servers associated with a particular application into an individual vApp. That might be a web server, a middle tier server, and a database server. And the idea behind vApps is it gives you a single point for starting up and shutting down virtual machines, whole groups of virtual machines. It also gives you a single location to clone a whole group of virtual machines. So if you have a group of virtual machines that might be part of an application that you want to roll out multiple times, you can use that as a cloning group. And it gives you the ability to use a group of machines inside of a vApp for reporting. What we often would see and recommend is that for some of our MSP partners, use vApps for individual customers. So you might have customer A in one vApp, and that would give you the ability to report on all that customer's usage, and customer B would be in a different vApp, and that would give you the ability to report on all that usage. For non-MSP clients using the platform, you may wish to use vApps for different departments. All of the accounting department might be in one vApp, and all of your marketing department might be in a different vApp, and it will give you the ability to look at resource utilization across individual vApps as well. So you don't have to use vApps, but if you wanted to, you can create a new vApp, or you can create a vApp from an OVF, or you can create a vApp actually from a catalog as well if you wanted. But in most cases, you'd probably create a new vApp, and then you just name the vApp, power it on, put a description there, and then you can add virtual machines from full of resources to put the virtual machines into, and it would actually create new virtual machines that you can go ahead and pull into that vApp that you can then combine together into one group. Next, let's talk really quickly about affinity rules. You can create affinity rules to keep two virtual machines together always on the same host. So if you have a web server and a database server and you always want them to be on the same host from a performance perspective, you can create a new affinity rule for that machine or for those machine groups, and then you can select a name for that affinity rule, and then you can add the machines that you want to stay in that affinity rule. And once you save that affinity rule, then you would have those machines would always stay on the same physical host hardware on the EEC platform. Or you can create anti-affinity rules. And anti-affinity rules would be used if you want three web servers to always be on different host hardware. So if there's a firmware upgrade or a purple screen on that hardware, those servers, the application will still be running even though one server is down. So you can create anti-affinity rules to make sure that those servers are always living on different physical pieces of hardware. And again, same thing, you click the new button, you'd click a name for that new anti-affinity rule, and then you'd select the servers that you want to be separated off on different hardware. And once you hit save, those servers will never run off the same physical hardware on the EEC platform. A couple other things worth mentioning. You can set up new networks on the platform. However, be aware that if it's a routed network that you want to go out through your Edge Palo Alto firewalls on the Expedient side, you would need to set up a new network on the Palo Alto firewalls as well, or your own Edge firewalls if you're using your own firewalls in front of the EEC platform. But you can create new networks if you wish, and there are basically three different types of networks. There is a non-routed network, which is essentially a bubble network that has no north-south traffic out of the platform. There is a routed network, which is a network that would give you north-south traffic from the platform out to essentially the public internet through a NAT on your Expedient firewalls or your own Edge firewalls. And then there is a cross VDC network, and that is essentially a stretched VLAN between your Expedient production data center and your Expedient disaster recovery data center, and that allows for that network to be extended from the production data center into the disaster recovery data center so we can maintain the same private IP space between production and disaster recovery. Typically speaking, you won't need to create new networks very often. If you do, there's a KB article out there on our KB site to show you how to do that, but it might even be a good idea to open up a support ticket with our Operations Support Center when you're creating new networks, just to make sure that you're covering all the bases for the different steps that you might need to do for elements outside of this platform, like I said, for your firewalls or on the Expedient side. Next, let's talk quickly about some disaster recovery as a service options inside of the EEC platform. If you're subscribed to disaster recovery as a service solutions with Expedient, just be aware that if you ever do want to do a failover from your production to your disaster recovery site, you would want to click on the networking tab over here, click on data center groups, and then click on the data center group that was set up for you by Expedient's delivery team. From here, you will actually see a graphic layout of which data center is actually providing edge services for you. And essentially, edge services are how you route from your environment out to the public internet and from the public internet back into your environment. So right now, my demo environment is going out from Cleveland 152, and Owings Mills is going out of the edge on the Cleveland 152 side. So any servers in either location that are looking for the public internet are going to go out through the Cleveland 152 data center. If I were to swap egress points here, that button would then mean that all traffic from both data centers would access the public internet out of the Baltimore Edge location. So this is something that you need to keep in mind if you're ever doing a DR failover from one site to another site. This is documented in our KB articles on our website, and also, and it's strongly encouraged, if you ever need to do a DR failover for whatever reason, you're encouraged to actually open a ticket with our team, and our team will help you to actually make this failover happen. It is something that you can click, but we also understand that a DR event would be a high stress event, and you probably want some help, so we can give you a hand doing that. And lastly, we're not going to go into the details here, but if you ever need to do a DR failover, you can click on this More button up here, and you can log into your Zerto self-service portal or your availability portal, depending on which product you're using from Expedient, and you'll be able to log in directly from the EEC console to perform your own self-directed disaster recovery failovers. Again, we would encourage you to open a ticket with our Operations Support Center if you need to do a disaster recovery failover. But if you want to do that failover on your own, you can then click on this More button and select the service that you're subscribed to and perform your failover from there. The last thing that we need to point out on the platform is that you do have access to vRealize operations from VMware. VROPS comes licensed from the platform directly. So you can click on the More button and click on the Operations button. And once you do that, you will be logged into VMware's vRealize operations console. And from here, you can see dashboards associated to your individual environment. So you can get an organizational overview for the number of virtual machines, the number of VApps that are running, the amount of memory, CPU, and storage that are running on the platform. You can see any event statuses. In my demo environment, I have a critical event. It's not really that big of a critical event. It's actually that we're running out of available networks on one of our networking groups. But you can see critical events, intermediate events, or even warnings that are going on the platform. You can see a list of the resources that are being consumed on the platform, and this is exportable, so you can generate reports and use those to review with internal teams if you wish. And this will give you a detailed summary about individual VApps, the amount of RAM, CPU, and disk space that are being consumed by those VApps, and top 5 memory utilization, CPU, and storage utilization for virtual machines on the environment. You can drill down deeper into VApps themselves, and once you click inside of the VApps category, you can see if the VApps are running, and you can see how many vCPUs, memory, and disk space resources are assigned inside of that VApp and the number of VMs that are assigned in that VApp. You can drill down into individual virtual machines, And once you look at individual virtual machines, you can see the CPU, memory, and storage associated with that virtual machine. And if you click inside of that virtual machine, you can see CPU usage utilization over time, CPU percentage utilization over time, memory utilization over time, different configurations that you'd want to see about those individual virtual machines. And then if you drill down into the metrics selector, this is the highly detailed reporting that you would normally see inside of a VMware environment. You can choose an individual virtual machine, and then once you choose that virtual machine, you'll have the ability to choose metrics associated with that machine. So you can see CPU peak ready numbers, you can see CPU usage activity, and then you can also choose a date range to choose what you want those charts to show. And this will give you individual information about your virtual machine usage. This is a great troubleshooting tool if you're looking to see spikes in performance utilization, or you're looking for dropouts about a virtual machine's networking access. You can see all that information from these performance metrics on the platform itself. Lastly, let's discuss some support options. If you're looking for self-service support, please head over to the Expedient knowledge base at kb.expedient.com. From there, you can click on the Expedient service you're interested in to find step-by-step directions for common daily tasks, as well as some definitions for features inside of the Expedient solutions. If you're looking for interactive support, you can speak with Expedient's Operations Support Center, or OSC. The OSC works through the Expedient ticketing system called the Support Management Console, or the SMC. You can contact the OSC using three methods. You can phone into the OSC, where you'll be routed to a live engineer who will open a ticket for you in the SMC, and they will start the remediation process from there. Or you can email service-request@expedient.com from an email address associated with your Expedient services. After you do that, a ticket will be created automatically in the Support Management Console, and then ticket updates will be provided over that same email thread going forward. Or you can log into the Support Management Console directly by going to support.expedient.com. From there, you can log in to review your services, add or remove contacts from your account, and review current or closed tickets. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for your continued business with Expedient.